First, before I do that, let me tell you that my name is Jen Cushman. I am an empathic intuitive. I am a medium, angel medium, and I also work with angels and guides, and I am a master energy worker. So that's what I do. I am also learning Huna, which is very exciting to me, and that is some very great Hawaiian energy that is coming in to supplement and most likely take over my Reiki energy that I've been doing, but I love it. So that's what I am and what I do. I work with my team and I'm here for you guys. I pulled out a new deck to work with today, an oldie but goodie, and it is actually Kyle Gray's Angel Prayers. This deck is right on for me and the angel messages are strong. So I just want you to know that when we grounded today, that a flood of angels really came in, and I'm really working with an angelic energy today too. So very exciting. They are here really to support what is happening with the cosmos. Okay. So today is May 1st. In the ancients, it is actually called Beltane. So it is the Beltane day. It is ancient magic, ancient wisdom. And what the ancient cultures did is they celebrated Beltane because Beltane is actually the halfway point between the two halfway points of the two solstices. So winter solstice and summer solstice, right? Which happen, summer solstice for us on the West Coast happened on April 21st, when I happened to have been in Hawaii doing Huna. And then the winter solstice happened in December 21st, right? So, but for the other continent, it's reversed. Okay. So for here in the US. So for us in the US now, Beltane means that we are halfway between the halfways. So it's to celebrate the quarter. And for us in the West right now, we are going into spring, and that is Beltane. So it's really May Day or Happy Spring Day is what they do. So that's great. So May 1st is that. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you, so, you go into Beltane and it's all fresh and new and spring energy and spring cleaning and bringing in the new energy and doing all of that stuff, which is really, really cool, right? That's why we love spring right now. And a lot of us in the West have been having the urge to clean and clear and plant and get our gardens going and all that kind of stuff, right? Now, what's interesting cosmically going on is we are also in Mercury retrograde still. Okay, so Mercury retrograde started in April and it goes for another 11 days. And so as you know about Mercury retrograde is there's a lot of jokes that are made. There's a lot of memes, like, you know what I mean? Don't sign contracts in Mercury retrograde. Don't make big decisions. Don't fly. Don't get on a plane, all that other kind of stuff. And so one of the things I want to do is I want to help reframe. That's a fancy way of saying we are going to shift our perspective. And when we shift our perspective, we shift the energy of it. So we're going to reframe Mercury retrograde. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit because we have 11 days left. Okay. So, but before I do that, I want to also tell you about a really important retrograde that happens today on May 1st. That I know is very much affecting my own energy of what's going on. And it was perfect for the work that I did with Beth yesterday. Beth is a friend of mine. She is one who I met during Master Practitioner of NLP. And she's become a very, very dear friend of mine. And she has become my person that we do work back and forth and trade work in order to do our release work together. So she's been very helpful to me. And I had some stuff really come up. And of course, it came up right on Pluto retrograde. Okay. Here's what I want to tell you about Pluto. Now, here's just to give credit where credit's due. I am not the best on astrology, okay? I love astrology. It is really fascinating to me. I have not deep dived the study on it. So when I look for astrological information, I look to two people. I look to my friend Denise Stargazer, who rocks on it. She's my friend and mentor that I've introduced you to, and you can follow her at Denise Stargazer on Instagram. She's amazing at it. And I also look to Elizabeth Peru. Now, Denise told me about Elizabeth Peru, and Elizabeth Peru is out of Australia. She's been doing this for 20 years, and she is the bomb when it comes to cosmos and astrology and what's happening there. And she's been really helpful to me. And she is also how I share this information because it resonates and it rings so true to me that this is why I share it with you as well. Okay, so to give credit where credit due, this information is coming from Elizabeth, and then it is also synthesized exercise and process through my team and my guides and angels. Now, I also wrote down some information. So Pluto is a very slow moving planet, like incredibly slow. And the last time that when it went retrograde was in 1798. Okay, 1798. So it was forward for a really, really long time. And Pluto going retrograde when it happens, and it actually happens when this happened, when it started moving, it went into the age of Aquarius. Okay. So I remember we talking about solstice, and I was talking to you guys about, we finally hit the age of Aquarius. Remember the old songs in the 1970s, right? The hippie songs was Age of Aquarius, Age of Aquarius. I can't remember anything more to do that. But, that is, oh, you guys, I got a notification. Let me turn it off. But that is the age of Aquarius, right? So that's what we're talking about. So Pluto going retrograde is important because it is really here to really bring up the darker aspects of us. And it going today means that it is kind of goes right into this work that I've been talking about with the mental emotional release, and all the training I've been getting is to help bring up these darker parts of ourselves, these shadow parts and the shadow sides, and those emotions and feelings and things that happened in our past. But at the time, we weren't really ready to deal with those shadows when they came up. So what did our unconscious mind do? It pressed down those shadows because it didn't feel safe, right? The unconscious mind's job is to preserve the body, and it is really to store our memories. So when we have trauma, or we have things that happen to us, or we have negative experience and emotional events, and we're not able to handle it at the time, our nervous system is literally not able to cope with them. Our unconscious mind takes that, takes those negative emotions and all that stuff, and it just pushes it down, and it just stores it. It stores it in the body. It stores it for us until a time will come up that we are safe to be able to look at it, as safe that we are able to deal with it. So one of the things I love about the training, the Hawaiian Huna training, is that when our stuff comes up, we celebrate it, because it's not a scary thing. It actually means that we are in a space in our life that we can deal with it. We can learn the lessons, we can release it, and we can move on. Now, cosmically, Pluto celebrates that. Pluto makes that possible and happen. And retrogrades, instead of being funny little memes about, oh no, don't sign paperwork, don't go to the card. When you have a retrograde, it means that it is a time cosmically, energetically, to influence. So we go back into our past, we look at the past, we deal with those things that we so far haven't dealt with. We bring the shadow to the forefront and then release it. And then we learn our lessons and we grow from it. So retrogrades are actually a really amazing time for us to go back into our psyche, go back into, to go for an inward focus and really look at those things that just aren't serving us anymore, the places in our life where it's stuck or it's whatever. And then we can just move forward and we can go better, we can become better, we can release the stuff. So that's what today is, you guys. Today is Pluto retrograde in addition to Mercury retrograde. Okay, so that's what I wanted to do. So that's fears, things. Oh, and the other thing I want to tell you about Pluto that is really, really great, the Pluto cosmic energy that's coming in, even though it's bringing it up to kind of look at this stuff, it's actually opening up our hearts. And I actually had a really amazing heart opening experience spontaneously, energetically yesterday when I was working with Beth. Hi, Beth. When I was working with her, my heart really opened up. And then last night, my heart had this weird thing energetically. I didn't know what it was. My conscious mind couldn't handle it. My heart had another energetic release last night. And I didn't know what it was, and I couldn't put a word to it. I did not have the conscious label to put on it. And then it released. And then this morning, when I opened up, my heart was just full. So Pluto retrograde is here to give energy to our heart, to give us sustenance, to give us energetic support, so that when we go into our shadow, it's easier, right? It's just easier to look at those fears and realize that it's just fears, right? It doesn't mean anything. When we hang on to it is when we have problems. When we let it go is when we can grow, right? So let it go and grow. And that's what Pluto is here to do. Pluto is here to open our hearts so it's easier to do the shadow work. Okay? Okay. Awesome. Now what I want to talk to you about is I want to talk to you about Mercury retrograde, because we have 11 more days of Mercury retrograde. And this is where I said I want to talk to you about a reframe of what a retrograde is. Okay. And remember, a reframe is just a new perspective. It's a shift in perspective so we can unstick ourselves, right? We can get rid of the gunk. We can unstick ourselves. That's what we're doing. So Mercury retrograde is here to really teach us. Again, it's like when things go into retrograde, it just means that the planets are moving backwards as opposed to moving forward, okay? There is a constant flow in nature. Nature has a constant flow. Everything has a season, it has a cycle. There are times to rest, there's times to grow, there's times to party, there's times to sleep. There is a flow in life. There's cold, there's hot, you know what I mean? There's always these things going on in the laws of nature. Nature controls herself. She has seasons to things. So even the planets will move forward and they'll move back, right? So Mercury retrograde, this means things are moving back. When the planets move back, when we move backwards instead of forwards, it is a time to move slower. It is a time to slow down and then look backwards. Look into our past. Don't be identified by our past, but look into our shadow, look into our past, look at those old stories, look at those old identifications, look at that old stuff we're doing, and then ask ourselves simply, is it still serving us? If those things are still serving you, then cool, move on, keep them, right? If they're not serving you, then figure out a way to let them go and let them grow. So the retrograde's purpose is to help us move backwards, right? Contract a little bit so we can figure out what's going on, so we can shift it and change it. So then when it's time to go direct, right? And I'm moving forward and I'm moving backwards, I'm using my physical body to show you. So then we can move forward and then we can bring in all the good stuff that we want to bring in our life, right? We can bring in happiness and health and peace and groundedness and centeredness. And we can be in our energy and we can be in the energy of forward motion. Okay. So moving backwards is not anything to get afraid of, you guys. Moving backwards is just simply a time to stop. It's just him, or not really stop, but just slow down. It's really a time to stop and look at it. So then think about it. When we're driving a car, we have to take the gas off the car, right? Sometimes we have to take the gas off the car. Sometimes we have to brake. And then we have to put the pedal to the metal, give it gas so we can move forward. This is all the same stuff. You guys, learning to manage our energy, learning to manage our emotions, learning to understand what shadow and light is, and then understand it as a cycle, is about growth. It is about positivity. It is about living. It is about learning. It's about moving forward. And ultimately, all we all want is to be happy, healthy, connected, you know, on path, on purpose, making money, doing what we love, you know, being with the people we love, feeling good about ourselves. And that's what all of this is about. You know what I mean? It's just life, and it's just the cycles of life and the seasons of life. Okay. Okay. So that's what I wanted to tell you about the retrogrades, you know, give you a new perspective on retrogrades, possibly get rid of the sticky, I call it the sticky wickets. Oh, and then one more thing I wanted to tell you about the retrogrades. I want you to be really careful when you think about what you hear and what we see on the memes and the social media about retrogrades, okay? Because one of the things that happens is those memes become so much part of our cultural language that it can actually change our behaviors if we don't look at them in a more positive light. You know, think about the superstitions, right? Walking under a ladder, you know, breaking a mirror, black cats, all of those things. Mercury retrograde, in my opinion, has started to become a cultural phenom where it is actually making us change our behaviors. I know people who will not travel during Mercury retrograde because they're afraid of what's going to happen. They literally are changing their lives because of cosmically what's going on out there. And I'm just here to say that is not positive to me. That is not forward moving. That is not empowering. Okay. You can learn about the cosmos. You can learn about astrology. You can learn about yourself. You can learn about these things. But when you start changing your behavior out of fear, then it is actually becoming a hindrance to us and we are not moving forward. I think you guys know this is kind of a weird little chunk, but you know that I love animals and I have shelter animals. And one of the things I learned from a friend of mine who volunteers at the shelter animals is that, you know, black cats are the ones that get euthanized the most, right? It's really, really hard to get people to take black cats, all black cats. Why? Because that black cat of witches or being evil or all that kind of stuff is so embedded in our Western culture that these animals that just happen to be born as a black cat have a hard time in life from the get-go because of our cultural stuff. So I want you to look at the retrogrades. I want you to look at the memes. I want you to look at the jokes. I want you to look at the stuffs, have a little fun with it, laugh with it and be okay it, but do not let these things become so culturally embedded in you that you actually change your way of doing things because of it, because that is the shadow side of some of our rituals. That is the shadow side of some of our mythology, is that we don't even know that we're doing it. It's so pervasively embedded. So, okay, that was my only other thing I wanted to tell you about that. Let's see, let me look at my notes and let me just see if there's one more thing I want to tell you. Oh, yes. So there's two more things I want to tell you cosmically that I got from Elizabeth Peru that is amazing. One is that we have a lunar eclipse this Friday and Saturday. It is the last it's the last eclipse we will end up having until October. So it's really interesting. So we have been building up into May, and this is a really important time. So cosmically, what May is for us and this lunar eclipse is this the closure of the doorway. So what we've been learning, it's going to close. And then we have a 2-week period after this lunar eclipse to really assimilate and take what we've learned during this time and really bring it into our being. So just know that Friday and Saturday are very important cosmically, and then the 2-week doorway afterwards. So we still have a little bit of time to really cement what we're going to do. And then also we are in Taurus right now. Okay. So we are going into Taurus, and Taurus is earth, 100% earth and grounded. It is about slow and steady, building slow and steady and having a foundation. So the thing I want to tell you is about all the cosmic events, all the things that you are learning right now, you are really building an energetic foundation for yourself. So if that is the case, that you are building an energetic foundation for yourself, think about your foundation, think about your bricks, think about what you're putting into there and make it strong, make it clear, make it positive, okay? Whatever you do, if there's fear, if there's shame, if there's anger, if there's sadness, if there's anything going on, release it. You know, release it by Friday, Saturday. Okay. This is the week to do release work, release work, release work. So then the 2 weeks you can bring it into your body, your being, and then you can really ground yourself into your purpose, your way of being from Friday until October. So you can get a lot of stuff done. Okay. So perfect, beautiful opportunity to really be grounded, clear foundation. Great time we talk about dreams, we talk about what you want to do. Great time right now to be cosmically supported in your foundation. Okay? Rooted, 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 rooted. Think about the tree. Okay?